Hi. This is the movie Age of Survival. A little girl and her father, in the form of a flying drone, genetically improve plants to save humanity. The film begins with a brief exposition in the form of the credits. The future, in an effort to save itself from ecological disaster, mankind has played with genetic technology. As everything was done from a known place, new microorganisms broke free, leading to the extermination of all edible animals and plants and, in part, humans themselves. The survivors huddle in so-called citadels, where tight population control and the latest technology help. The rest eke out a miserable existence on barren land, forced to trade seeds of plants genetically programmed to produce no offspring from the city's oligarchs. In the opening scene, the protagonist Vesper, along with a flying drone operated by her father, digs through the dirt in search of edible roots. After digging up some provisions, the girl returns home, carefully avoiding the tentacles of predatory plants sticking out of the ground. Inside, she prepares a nutritious mixture, which she pours into a bag which, in turn, she hangs next to her seriously ill father's bed to feed him through a tube. After feeding the dependent, the heroine heads off to the lab. A drone controlled telepathically by her father flies with her. Inside, the girl talks to the time-dried dead man, as well as assembling the necessary instruments for her own scientific experiments. She is interrupted by a suspicious noise outside, the source of which is one of the pilgrims, sick people collecting all sorts of junk and carrying it away somewhere. Returning home, Vesper notices that the guard of predatory tentacles has been interrupted by someone. With a knife in her hand, she sneaks into the house, but no one is there. However, some things are damaged, including the electric generator that supports her father's life support system. The girl goes to the nearest settlement for help, where she witnesses a terrifying scene. The locals, with traces of genetic degeneration on their faces, have surrounded a wounded jag, an artificially bred in vitro creature, to work. The village elder Jonas appears and forces the perpetrator of the incident to finish off the wounded jag to put it out of its misery. Though not at once, the lad cuts up the worker with a knife. After telling him to remove the body, Jonas talks to Vesper, who is his niece. The girl asks her uncle for the necessary repairs, but the latter refuses to help for free. Times are tough times. She is the heroine's blood, which Jonas uses in trading with the citadel. When she asks to settle accounts with her, her uncle orders her to come back in a couple of days. Blood must be sold first. But her father won't last that long, so the girl wants to take the liquid. But she fails. Jonas throws her out into the street, where his children laugh at her. Later, Vesper returns to the village to sneak inside. When she tries to sneak into the house unnoticed, one of Jonas's children, a boy who drew blood from his finger, bumps into her. But he says nothing, allowing the heroine to carry out her plan. But in addition to the parts for the generator, she also steals the seeds from which her uncle is unsuccessfully trying to grow a crop. On her way back, the heroine sees a glider falling in the sky, but ignores it. At home, she shows her father the stolen seeds, which she wants to try to genetically unlock so they will produce offspring naturally. The next day, wandering through the woods, the girl finds a wounded woman who has arrived, judging by her clothing, from the citadel. She is already surrounded by blood-sucking plants. Noticing that she is still breathing, Vesper disconnects the blood-sucking tourniquets and drags the body home, where she treats the wounds and pulls out the vermin. Her father is unhappy that she brought in an outsider, but the heroine thinks she did the right thing. The rescued one could be her ticket to a better life within the walls of the citadel. Meanwhile, a woman named Camellia comes to her senses and hides a knife under her pillow. She asks Vesper where her companion is. He must be found. Vesper, contrary to her father's words, promises to find the other passenger, but in the morning, for it is improper to be out in the woods at night. In the evening, the girl tries to feed her guest, but she is not accustomed to eating soup with maggots and caterpillars, even though she has carefully chosen the juiciest. Camellia says her father is a big shot and will help them. And Vesper tells us that her father was a citadel soldier until he was wounded. The drone is all his employers rewarded him with for his service. Suddenly the sick man has a seizure. Camellia pacifies him with a kiss, after which he is forgotten by a sound sleep. In the morning, the heroine and the drone go in search of the crashed glider. Following a trail of debris, she finds the machine in a low place. Vesper does not have time to open the door when Jonas and his men appear. Seeing the wounded man from the citadel inside, Jonas strangles him instead of helping him, despite his niece's tears and pleas. Realizing that there is a second passenger somewhere, the uncle asks the girl if she has met anyone, but she lies so as not to betray Camellia. When she returns home, she lies to her guest as well, saying she has found nothing. At night, Vesper takes Camellia to her garden, where the plants she has created are growing. She wants to demonstrate her usefulness as a geneticist so she can put in a good word for her at the citadel. At the house, the girl talks about her mother. One day she fell ill and left with the pilgrims. Then they look at a book about animals. Camellia, who grew up in a better environment, tells the girl about the habits of extinct creatures. After arranging with her father to summon people from the citadel behind Camellia, the girl tries to sneak into her uncle's house the next day. He has the only in the whole neighborhood to communicate. The drone flew out to investigate, but fell into the hands of Jonas. He is rummaging around in it when Vesper arrives. His uncle wonders why she has come and whether he knows who stole his seeds. He even had to punish his son who was on duty that day. Frightened by his sinister tone, Vesper grabs the drone at the first opportunity and runs off. Jonas follows and whistles a command to his sons. In the woods, the heroine launches the drone into flight, but it can barely keep its balance after being repaired. It falls into a low place. The girl goes down after it and stumbles upon the body of a dead boy, the same one that didn't raise the alarm earlier. Soon the boys sent after her show up. They chase after Vesper and eventually catch her. While two hold her down, the third brandishes a red hot with a red-hot iron. At home, the heroine is distraught and tries to fix the drone. Camellia comforts her, and eventually the girl confesses to her that her father, the glider's other passenger, is dead. She takes her guest to the forest, where his body lies in a swamp. Vesper notices the scar on Camellia's back and realizes that she is an artificially created jag, unique in its kind, endowed, unlike the others, with a full consciousness and personality. Together with her creator, she escapes for violating the law of intelligent jags. Vesper realizes that Camellia will not take her to the citadel, as she cannot return there herself. This enrages her. She throws mud at the woman. Returning to her father, the heroine tells him what has happened. While they are talking, Camellia tries to kill herself with a hidden knife in another room, but she fails to do so, as Vesper rushes in with a cry of pain and prevents her from completing what she started. Reconciling, the girl asks Camellia for permission to examine her genetic material. Vesper finds a blocked code in her DNA, just like the seeds of plants that have been deprived of the ability to reproduce. At the same time, Camellia reveals that her creator didn't treat her not as a daughter, but as a spouse. Remembering him, the guest begins to play the local version of the psaltery. The DNA subtly responds to certain notes, and with their help, Vesper manages to unlock the code. By adding Camellia's genetic material to the grains, the heroine manages to remove the breeding block from them as well. This discovery fundamentally changes the whole system of commodity market relations through economic disruption, the entire world order. Upon learning of this, her father orders Vesper to go with Camellia to another citadel and exchange the unlocked seeds for a safe haven. To finish her experiments, the girl goes to the lab. In the meantime, Jonas comes to the house and finds Camellia there. He offers to go with him, threatening to kill her sick brother if he refuses. But noticing that she is not human, but a jag, Jonas tries to rape her and then kill her. This is prevented by the return of Vesper and the drone. The fight breaks out between Jonas and the girls. It ends when a knife is pinned to his hand to the table. The niece offers her uncle a deal. He leaves them alone, getting unlocked seeds in return. Then he will have his own harvest and will not have to collect blood from the children to trade with the citadel. However, back in the village, the man contacts the citadel via transmitter and surrenders the escaped jag. In the evening, while Vesper is busy experimenting, the house is attacked. First, through a crack under the door, a kind of sludge that resembles a rapidly growing mold. People climb away from it on the table, but it keeps coming and coming. At the last moment, the mold suddenly freezes and begins to evaporate in a poisonous but rapidly dissipating smoke. Realizing that the soldiers are coming next, the father tells his daughter and Camellia to flee to the garden. He himself will try to convince his former colleagues that no one else is here. Drone meets the soldiers near the generator, which explodes after the shot, burying in flames not only Vesper's father, but also the soldiers who came for him. The girl, seeing the flames, rushes back in tears, but Camellia holds her back and brings her to her senses. They continue on their way to the garden, but the silent enforcers of the citadel are already on their heels. Vesper uses his knowledge of the terrain and plant features to trap one of them between the red bushes. If they are disturbed, a swarm of aggressive fireflies will pierce the troublemaker. This works with the first soldier, but the second one bypasses the bushes in search of the fugitives. The girls hide behind the bushes until another plant gives them away with its squeaks. The soldier returns and a fight ensues between them. Vesper covers the glass of his helmet with mud, causing him to drop his cannon. Picking it up, the girl doesn't know how to fire it, but she thinks of throwing it into the bush. The disturbed swarm of fireflies rises from the thicket and attacks the warrior who is frozen nearby. Camellia, realizing that the soldiers will not stop chasing her, plans to go back and surrender. Vesper, in tears, begs her to stay and not leave her, but Jag, using a soporific kiss, puts the girl to sleep. After covering her body with dried leaves, Camellia goes into the garden, where the soldiers find her. Waking up in the morning in the woods on the ground like a bum after a heavy drink, Vesper returns to the ashes where the house was. She plants some seeds in the blackened earth. She is caught doing this by the 4 Jonas children, who miraculously survived the night sweep. When Vesper leaves in search of a new citadel, they follow her. The children travel through the country, joining a string of pilgrims who haul the garbage they have collected in a direction they know only too well. After several days, the travelers arrive at a huge man-made tower of junk built by pilgrims who have set up a tent city at its base. Upon reaching the tower, Vesper, like Roland of Gilead, realizes that her journey is almost over. Leaving her companions below, the girl climbs up the fragile structure of the tower. Nearly falling off in the process, she climbs to the very top, an observation deck overlooking. Above the surrounding woods, she looks around and notices the giant domes of another citadel nearby. However, rather than dismount and go there, Vesper unlocks the seeds and tosses them to the wind to disperse them as widely as possible and plant the surrounding land. And then, lo and behold, the fruits and vegetables will eventually spread across the land again. This is where the movie ends.